In activity 114, I'm going to demonstrate creating and using a query. It's using the query wizard. So what is a query? So in relational databases, you have tables that are linked to one another, perhaps based on the content of the data. That's an advanced concept we'll get into in Chapter 2. But basically, you have tables that look like spreadsheets, but you can link them together in a way that you can't with an Excel spreadsheet. So what's a query? Well, databases generally have a lot of information in them, and a query is a way to ask questions against the data so that you can look at it from different points of view. So for instance, you might create a query that says copy and display just the records that are where the amount owed is greater than zero. And then you wouldn't see any of the zeros. You'd have basically a table built on the fly that selects just certain types or certain rows of data based on a certain condition, for instance. Or you might want all of the data, but a subset of the fields across the top. So let's demonstrate that now. To create a query, which will again make a table object on the fly, let's click on Create, click on the Query Wizard, and notice we have 4 different kinds of queries that we can have the Query Wizard take us through. But we'll be selecting Simple Query for this current exercise. Now, which fields do you want in your query? You can choose from more than one table or query. So the first thing we want to do is drop this down and see that there's 2 tables. There's faculty and students, and that matches up with the table objects we have here in the navigation pane. I'm going to select students, and then I want student ID. It's an available field. I want that to be part of the query or part of the on the fly table that I'm going to build. So I'll select student ID and hit this arrow, and it moves it over. And I want last name. In fact, I want everything right down through zip and postal code. Now, what I didn't get was phone number, email, faculty, advisor ID, and amount owed. So really, I'm creating a query, a select query, that will copy and display information from these 7 fields, but it will ignore information from these 4 fields. It's a non-destructive situation, so I'm not going to hurt my students table, but I will create a new table over here that's can be used. So I'll say next. I'll give it a name. I'll say all students query, like the book says. And I'm going to say finish, and now there it is. We now have a 3rd table, and it's the all students query, but it's based on this table. Every time we execute this query, it goes back and looks at this table and copies out just the columns or just the fields that we've told it to copy out. And now we have a new, in the navigation pane, we have a new heading called Queries, because we've just created a query object. Now I can show you that it's got 7 fields, and it does not have any of the phone or email or amount owed or the faculty advisor ID. So that's how this differs from this. This is the underlying table that this query is built on. And notice this is a table icon, and this is a query icon, and that's how you know this is not a real table. It's a table that's built off of another table. Okay? And that's how you create a simple query.